Hey everyone, welcome to Shunya One, episode 140. We are
10
really
short
like,
of 150.
I know, we're getting up there. I mean, every episode I sort of do the count and I'm like, it's going, man. It's really
It's,
good going.
it's kind of interesting, right? Yeah, you think about it, 140 real conversations with people about the tech industry in India. That's not
Yeah.
nothing. That's like something, I think that's really kind of, it's something. I mean, like, I'm right. It is, we're getting there. I mean, like, we're
That's a
really,
sizable amount of conversations, a lot
yes.
of people, a lot of information.
Mhm.
For anyone who's listening to this episode as the first one, I think you really should check
It's-
out everything we've done so far.
yeah,
Uh,
there,
there's
there
there's a lot
definitely,
there.
there's some gems in there. Like, there are really
Yeah,
some really, really great conversations in there.
yeah,
But
and
today's
likewise
one's
with
another
today.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking to Rohan Bhargav, the co-founder of CashKaro. Rohan's going to be talking to us about a whole bunch of things about his business and all the intricacies of it. But Amit, I mean, the fact that there are businesses like this where you're literally giving money to consumers for
Yeah.
doing literally a pass-through click,
Yeah.
and hardly any people know about it.
So I was, I've heard the name Cashkaro for the longest time, right? It's a name that's
Yeah.
been floating around. You hear about it, but I hadn't really honestly explored it until we were
Yeah.
preparing for, or until I was preparing for the conversation with Rohan, right? And I was looking at it. I'm like, wait, how the hell am I not a member of this site, right? I mean, like, it's not like like this is money. This is basically just be a little smart, and you'll have money coming back to you for no reason whatsoever. I mean, like, without
Right.
doing anything. I mean, it's just not for no reason, but just it's just coming back. So I mean, like, it makes no sense to not have it. I'm just, yeah, man. It's crazy how many under the radar tech businesses of size there are.
Yes. Yes.
This is one of them, but yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of, yeah, I was amazed when I was just looking through the site.
I mean, I'm gonna go buy something for sure
I
after
know.
this, and I really hope I get my
All right.
cashback started. Hi, Rohan, how you doing?
Hi, Shiladitya. Hi, Amit. Doing well. How are you guys doing?
Can't complain.
Not not too bad. Can't
Excellent.
complain is literally what it is. We're sitting all nicely in our homes in spite of everything, so you really
Yes,
can't complain, is it?
that is correct. You're not allowed to complain.
Earlier, all we have is to talk about the weather outside our windows and and working through weekends like all of us. But Rohan, thank you so much for being on our show. I mean, we've known each other for a while, I think, and
Yep.
of course, you have been an entrepreneur for a long time. So why don't you start us off with giving us a little bit about how obviously your personal journey was and coming to what's culminated in CashKaro today.
Sure, sure. So, firstly, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. It's great that I think you guys are at show number 140-ish, and I think that's a great hallmark to get to over all these years. So, congratulations. Uh, my journey. Swati and me started this business about 8, 9 years back, and we both come from a very, very different world. We were both in the financial services business in the UK. We both graduated from LSE, and in some sense, kind of the standard default behavior was to join financial services, right? So it was banking, hedge funds, and that sort of stuff. So, and it's a very sexy place to be, right? So when
Yeah.
when you're just coming out of college, 21, 22, 23 years old, you suddenly get a lot of money. Just everything that you kind of was struggling as a student is available to you. So that's a great perk to being in
Yeah.
London in financial services. And did that for a bunch of years, right? Lived through the financial crisis. Had some crazy ups and downs during that period. There were periods where you'd wake up and you lost a lot of money, and a week later you were kind of excited because you took a different viewpoint and you suddenly made all that money back. And
Wow.
you know, the, I mean, the monies were in like, millions and billions, or, just,
Yeah.
the kind of, it's all paper money, right? Like it's digital,
Yeah.
electronic
Yeah.
money, right? So you don't kind of think about it. But along the way, part of somewhere, something in me changed, right? Something in me kind of lost the passion for financial services. And I think about 5 years, 6 years into that career, when I kind of questioned myself and said, hey, do I want to do this for the next 25, 30 years? And I think the answer was resounding no. Right? I had to find something else, and it was a bit of a rediscovery, right? Because for all your life, you kind of only known one part of the world, which is financial services.
Yeah.
Everyone that you know is in financial services, and so it was a little bit of a rediscovery, right? That what next, and so started thinking about different ideas, thinking about look, how to rebuild career, right? And to be honest, I don't think startup was one of the options. uh, and along the way, I started using a cashback site in the UK called Quidco, right? And that
Mhm.
was my first exposure to cashback. And I think the pivotal moment for me was I had introduced this site to our office manager at that point, Louise.
Mhm.
And she was doing all the reservations of hotels and flights and stationery and everything else, right? And the spoiled kids that we were at in financial services, we would only stay at 5 stars, right? Rooms costing $300, $500 a night, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
And she started using the site, and she came to me 6 months later saying, Rohan, I have earned £10,000 using this website.
Hmm.
And I said, wow, right? That's a big thing, right? And I looked at my sort of cashback earnings, and I had like, a couple of £1,000, and I was like, wow, you know what? Something magical is happening here, right? And
Yeah.
every time I would introduce the site to people, what would come was like this gratification from people saying, thank you for introducing me to this concept. Uh, and along the way, we said, hey, you know what? I love the concept. Our friends love this concept. Uh, why can't we do this? So we started
Mhm.
scoping the world. We sort of looked at the US market, and we realized that cashback is big there, right?
Mhm.
In Europe, it was big. China had a comparable product. And we said, hey, why not us, right? Why don't we kind of, build something out, start with the UK market, and we'll eventually figure out how to bring this to India. And that's where it all started, right? So we said, look, we're anyways flaky about our jobs. Can we take that leap of faith? Which, to be very honest, at that point, when you talk to family and Swati and me had gotten married about a year, right? So from a
Mhm.
point where, I've gone to Swati's parents and said, look, stable boy, London, settled in London, doing well. And I'm now taking your daughter who's also working at Goldman Sachs, and I'm going to take you to a startup journey. Not kind of the most exciting thing,
Wow.
but it just something in us was like, look, this makes sense, right? And we were sort of 28, 29. We said, look, let's try it out, right? What's the worst that can happen? And that's where it started, right? So we started our UK site called pouringpounds.com. Very quickly, we started running cashback for the largest newspaper in the UK called the Daily Mail. We
Yeah.
then did a bunch of other things in the B2B space. And around 2013 is when we realized that it's the right time to start cashback in India. Uh, everything prior to that, Indian e-commerce was very travel specific, right? The Make My Trip, Yatra
Yeah.
were large, but the Jabong and Flipkart were just setting up, right? And they were just starting to
Yeah.
get venture money. They were starting to grow. Interestingly enough, Amazon didn't even exist at that point. There was
Yeah.
only Junkie. So that's when we entered, and
Wow.
we realized that the value that we want to create long term is emulate what, let's say, a Quidco or a Ebates had done in their geographies. And it's a little bit of a winner take all type of market. As you sort of become dominant, there is a network effect that kicks in. You get better
Yeah.
rates. Better rates allows you to give better cash back, and so on and so forth. So that's where it all started. And so yeah, 2013, 2014 is when cashkaro.com happened. Fast forward 7 years, we are Cash Karo, Earn Karo, and an offline business.
Yeah,
So
Rohan, if you could, right? I mean, I think it'd be kind of helpful to really understand, like, just broadly, how does the business work, right? I mean, like, who does what, where, who gives money to whom at what point in time? How does, like, I mean, like, how does this happen? How does the magic happen?
absolutely, absolutely. So let me break it into two parts, right? There is obviously the user side of the story, and then there's the retailer or e-commerce side of the story, right? So let's start with the e-commerce side. Uh, our basic value prop to, let's say, an Amazon or a Flipkart is that we will bring you sales. We
Right.
will send you traffic. That traffic will convert into a transaction on your website or at your app. And for that, you're going to pay me a marketing fee. So let's say we agree on 10% is what Flipkart is going to pay me. Uh, the money that comes from Flipkart, let's say that 10% that comes, we pass some part of it back to the user as a cashback. So if 10 is coming, and let's say if I'm paying 5, 5 is what the customer is getting as an extra bonus cashback. 5 is what I keep. And the user side of the story is, look, you can either go to Flipkart directly and shop, or you can come through CashKaro and you get an extra 5%. And that 5% is on top of everything, right? So it's on top of the discount, it's top of the coupon, the bank offer, your credit card cashback, whatever the layers are, we are that extra 5% on top.
Across all categories on these kinds of sites? Because I
In
remember they
most
used to have
cases.
like very they all used to do that reseller program, right, where you everybody had blogs and they all had affiliate links and stuff like that, and then you could only do that on certain categories, not on all of them. So
So in
over here,
most cases, all categories,
okay,
right?
It's and it's sort of like those affiliate programs, right? It is in a way
It's
just that.
exactly that affiliate program, right? So it's
okay,
what bloggers used to do, where they would write about products and review products, and they would have those affiliate links. We've basically just taken that model and kind of made it easy for the consumer to get something and the sale to happen.
Wow.
interesting.
And I mean, and I knew of this. I knew of the model, of course, and like you said, it's been wildly popular in the West. It obviously you guys brought it here, and uh, a lot of folks have been trying it. But one thing which you just mentioned, right? It's a winner-take-all market
Yep.
of sorts, and that's simply because obviously, as you aggregate more of the traffic to those retailers, you get to command more of a share of,
Absolutely, absolutely,
of the
absolutely.
cashback, right?
So I'll tell you a few things that start, right? And it's a little bit of a snowball effect, right? So it's kind of like when you first start off, you're trying to get the customer also, and you're trying to build enough clout with the retailer, right?
Right.
And it's kind of constantly juggling between those two. So you initially start off with probably having a lesser of a commanding position with the retailer. Um, and whatever you kind of get, so you invest a lot in getting users, explaining and getting them to understand that, hey, there's a concept called cashback.
Right.
Now as more people start to come through you, uh, the retailers start to see more traffic, right? And see, the real reason that retailers do this is because the traffic that I'm sending to them is cheaper than what they're able to do through Google and Facebook,
Hmm.
right? And that's the amazing part, right?
I was
So
gonna come to that. Yeah.
Google and Facebook talk about performance marketing, right? That's the and their definition of performance is a click.
Hmm.
So now just think about our own shopping behavior, right? We might be searching for something. You click on something and suddenly Amit gets a call, right? And he's like, okay, forget it. Now you clicked on that ad and the brand has just paid money, right? It could
Hmm.
be 5 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, right?
Yeah.
Now, in our case, let's say if I sent an email to Amit, Amit clicked on it, but got the call and he went away. The brand pays us nothing, right? And that's the beauty of what we're giving to them. That it is true performance-driven model because you only pay me for a sale, right? And if the retailer decides, or sorry, if the user decides to cancel that transaction, we still don't get paid,
Hmm.
right? So the power is really in the retailer
Hmm.
now getting real, genuine transactions.
Yeah, it's cashback against a confirmed sale. So there's
Cashback
real money
against
flowing
confirmed.
hands.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, it's
And
actually commission. It's commission
it's
versus
commission.
ad spends.
Absolutely, right? So as you start to build this model, right, and it's taken us a period of time to sort of solve that chicken and egg. We're now sitting on something like 12 million customers. We're now starting to grow at a pace where we're adding about a million and a half customers a month, right? So I think we would end this year closer to 20 million, right? So what we were doing, maybe in a year, we're now doing in a month. Uh, Now, as those users come to the platform, we're now in a much more commanding position with a lot of the retailers, right? So they're now starting to see sizable amounts of their overall pie coming through us. But what also starts to happen is that the newer brands, right, who are just starting to come in, and they look, what are my options, right? I can go to Google, I can go to Facebook, and my CACs on Google and Facebook are something like 1,000 rupees a transaction. We come to them and say, hey, you know what? It's performance, right? So you don't have to pay a variable number. And we also have a lot of deep intelligence, right? So I know who shopped on Amazon. We know who shopped on, let's say, a beard oil on Amazon, and we can target just those people. We know who's sort of looking at what type of phones, who's looking to upgrade a phone, who's looking at, just a lot of data and analytics, right? That is there, which suddenly we can give to a new brand and say, hey, you know what? While the Google and Facebook model is very much black box, we can be a lot more transparent with you, right? We can give you a lot more intelligence while making it performance driven.
Outcome driven, actually. It's like
Absolutely.
literally,
Outcome driven. Absolutely.
yeah. So
The
this is
data. That's right. Please go ahead.
no. So my elaboration on that was exactly this, right? The market for the performance guys still exists. It's not that, I mean, people are obviously spending money on ads as well,
Yep.
but they're also doing this in addition. So how my question was actually, how does the retailer think about this? So now, since you have done this for you talk to so many people, what do they share? What's the share of wallet they think of which is more worthy of spending?
See, the way retailers, marketers would think about this would be, so let's say if you're doing Google, right? You could also add Facebook to the mix, and you could also add CashKaro to the mix. Now, as you're doing all of them, you start to optimize your spends, and you start to look at your first users coming in, your repeat users coming in, and at what point are you starting to build, let's say, loyalty within the ecosystem, right? So let's think of a typical retailer that comes in. You would want to acquire a customer, right? So you start let's say, a beauty brand, and you start running Google ads, Facebook ads, or start working with CashKaro to get your first customer coming in, right? Now you analyze what is my cost across these three platforms for a new customer.
Yeah.
Now let's say Google is at 1,000, we might be at 500, right? So somebody comes to us and says, hey, you know what? You're the right platform for me for getting new customers. Now the next stage for them would be, hey, how do I get these same customers to transact one more time, right? So every brand today would be using a Clever Tap for a lot of their marketing automation, sending emails, sending SMSs, lots of other things, right, which are there as part of your remarketing and retargeting, but that also costs money, right? Now a brand would kind of look at the same next funnel and say, hey, between a Google, a Facebook, and a CashKaro, where am I getting better value for money when it comes to my repeat customers? And those customers, through what platform are they stickier, right? So can I, in some sense, say, hey, you know what? I've outsourced a lot of my marketing to CashKaro.
Yeah.
Right? There are, let's say, 50,000 people that transacted through my brand. Now, CashKaro is going to keep telling them about my offer, right? So let's say if a Mama decides that they're going to do a BOGO event, they need to now deploy money with influencers and other people to market that BOGO event.
Right.
CashKaro is doing that, right? So now what's cheaper, right? And what keeps coming out, right? And this is important, right? Because someone like Amazon, one would arguably say that, look, I mean, they're huge. They have $1 billion of branding money, and they're on TV, and they're on radio, and they're everywhere, right? Why are they still doing affiliate? Why are they still coming to CashKaro and saying, look, every sale event, we want a larger share of voice on CashKaro across the board? right? Because they continue to see value when it comes to comparable paid channels, right? So it's obviously you're not comparing your organic traffic to CashKaro, right? But you're
Right.
comparing all your paid traffic versus CashFlow. So that's how marketers start to think about it. And I think areas where we add the maximum value, right, going forward will be um, for some of the newer brands, right, who, when they start, they're sort of saying, look, I don't have a lot of capital, right? And if I get it wrong on Google and Facebook, it's going to cost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
Or, sometimes more specifically, what happens is that, let's say if a brand does something and, let's say a site crashes. So let's say hypothetically you decided to buy the YouTube masthead. Now that could send you a unknown amount of traffic, and infrastructure may not be available or geared to manage
Oh, yes.
those variations, right?
Yes.
So you've spent this, let's say, 20 lakhs on a single day of YouTube masthead. Traffic starts to come, right? And your site crashes, and you're like, oh no, what do I do? So you've got your techies going crazy, but that's real money that's gone, right? Uh, Translate that into a cash flow world. Look, that happens. We start to reduce the marketing impact, but we sort of share the burden, right?
And they only spend money only when they get a sale also. So it's not
Get a
like,
sale also. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I a question about what you just said over here, right? I mean, like in the sense that the cost of marketing channel driven customer acquisition versus cost of organic transaction, kind of this, right? I'm just curious, like, how do you? I'm sure many have the question, right? Many of the vendors have the question that in the long run, if there is a cashback available, like right now, what is to prevent me? I'm a captive Amazon customer. I buy everything from Amazon almost everywhere, right? I find out about CashKaro today. What? Hey, listen, I'm spending so much money a month on CashKaro on Amazon. Let me just spend it through CashKaro, right? Does Amazon have concerns about that, or are they like, hey, as long as it's going, it's? I mean, like, how would they?
or
How would they
anyone for
react, and
that
how would
matter.
you address? Yeah, and how would
Yeah,
you
this is
address
a
that
good
issue?
question. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
you will know people who could have gone to direct, but they choose to go here. It's you're actually encouraging that in a way, right? You are.
We are to some extent. See, what happens is that it's not just that one transaction, right? So, for example, let's say that you shop at Amazon, right? Now, what if I were to tell you that, hey, there's a product that you're interested in, and it's available at a great price right now on Amazon.
Hmm.
So what I'm creating is not just your normal behavior where, first of the month you say, look, I need to buy my grocery at Amazon, right?
Right.
It's not just that behavior, but it's sort of proactively telling you that, hey, you know what? I noticed that, let's say you have a uh, One Plus 8T, and
Mhm.
there is a new One Plus T available, and it's available at a great offer at a great discount and a great cashback.
Hmm.
Now, I might be inducing a sale which would not have happened normally,
Right.
right? So, a lot of what we do is not just taking traffic that is going to go to Amazon anyways,
Mhm.
but there is a lot of marketing intelligence that makes you shop even when you are not going to,
Makes sense.
right? And
Of
that's
course.
where, when you look at it from a blended perspective, right, versus individuals' perspectives, the value comes in, right?
Right.
And you sort of have that same
Right.
phenomena even normally, right? So if you think about, like, if you type in Amazon.in on Google right now, there is probably the first display is going to be an Amazon ad,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
now most people will end up clicking on
Yeah.
that ad, right,
Yeah.
and coming there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah.
Amazon's
People do
doing
that.
this
Yeah.
because they're trying to protect the brand, but at the end of the day, there was some money that went in, right, in doing
Right.
that. Now, in some sense, when I send you a notification, you're clicking on that. So there is a click that is happening to Amazon, traffic going to Amazon, but Amazon's not paying for those clicks,
Correct. Right.
right? So
No,
at
that's
a
the
blend, it
platform.
starts to become a lot better.
Yeah, that's the advantage of your platform, right? I mean,
Correct.
Amit, I think what you were saying is technically the old affiliate world, right? If I know there's a blogger or there's someone who has an affiliate link, or forget that, like, actually no, the bloggers don't give you the cashback. So in this case, I know there is a cashback, so I'll always go there if I remember to, obviously.
Correct.
But the fact that CashKaro's made it a platform means it's also a discovery platform. So you also discover other stuff, and so that's the
So
dual
also
advantage of having.
you mentioned all the data collection that they do, right? So I think that also gives a
Obviously.
significant advantage in terms of this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rohan, the data stuff is actually really interesting to me, right? I think that, and I'd love to know a little bit more from you in terms of how you think of that. Do you think of that as like, in some ways, the real long-term play over here, right? The idea that you know so much about shopping behavior that outside of like Amazon and Flipkart, right? I don't even think Google and Facebook know, because they don't have the same degree of like transaction completion awareness that you do, right? So I mean, like, how do you see that playing out in the long run?
Absolutely, and I think that's a
Oh, that's a good
huge,
point.
huge, huge opportunity for us, right? And I think very correctly, as you said, I think longer term, that is what we're going to probably be looking to maximize the most. I'll give you a couple of examples, right? With a lot of because we are at the transactional level, with a lot of brands, we know what product was eventually bought. So now let's say hypothetically, you bought a gluten-free atta. Right? Now it tells me a lot about you, right? It tells me about a
You're a
condition, a
hipster.
preference, right, etc., etc. uh, but
SECA
that
is the right term, Amit. You're supposed to say SECA, not
SCCA.
hipster.
Okay.
um, so that now that information we can do something with, right? Now let's say there is a brand that comes to us that, let's say, specializes in just gluten-free product, and they say, look, how do I get access to people who are buying this? And now if you think about that as a marketing problem on Google and Facebook, it's unsolved, right?
Right.
Because look, how does Facebook know that you really are into gluten-free product? Or, and there's one world where, look, I just want to know what this is, so I open Google and say, what are these crazy the hipsters doing, right? Looking for gluten-free product. Uh, and Google will say, hey, this person's interested in gluten free, right? So I'm going to start
Yeah.
seeing ads.
Right.
Whereas, look,
Yeah.
I'm just looking for information, right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that. And it's also about, because we are more at the transactional level, right? It is about inducing and creating impulse, right? So, for example, there is a point where people will want to upgrade their phone, right? So let's say if your phone is, so let's say if you bought a OnePlus phone at some point, uh, that phone is about 35 to 40,000 rupees, right? And every upgrade is actually a similar price point, right? So you can actually afford that. Now I understand from your data and from your behavior that, look, you have a OnePlus 70, you're 2 years or 3 years behind on the latest model. It's possible that you're starting to think of an upgrade. Can I give you the right carrot to make that happen? Now that carrot could be a function of, hey, here's a 4% cashback, or look, here is a bank offer along with the cashback, and it's only available today. Uh, Now I might induce that behavior. So you're not really thinking, look, I'm going to upgrade. But suddenly when somebody comes to you with an offer like that, you're like, look, maybe I do it, right? Maybe it's, my phone's
Yeah.
not working as well, and so on and so forth, right? So I think there is a lot of value in data, and especially as we start opening up other categories, right? So we've just started doing credit cards.
Oh,
Now, so we've started working with guys like Axis and SBI, and effectively we're doing what a Pesa Bazaar or a Bank Bazaar does, where we're sending them leads, and we only get paid for a actual card dispatch, right?
wow.
Now
That's
I'm
like multiple hoops beyond just, like, it's not the same as buying something on Amazon. It's like KYC and blah and
correct.
something, right?
Correct, correct. But
Yeah.
then we sort of trigger it with a lot of intelligence based on who you are, right? So, for example, we've just started working with Access on their Ace credit card, right? And it's a phenomenal card, right? I think so. Now it gives you a 5% cash back on all your bill payments, right? So whether you're paying an electricity bill for 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, you get 5%.
Okay.
Now that's huge, huge, right?
Yeah.
It gives you 4% on Swiggy, Zomato, and Ola, and it gives
Oh,
you
Okay.
2% on everything else.
okay.
Okay.
Now, if you think about that, I know people now. The people that are part of CashKaro are, uh, they have money, but they are, they're the people who kind of want to stay ahead of the curve in being the smartest shopper.
Right.
It's the guy that collects miles, right?
Yeah, I
You're flying,
was.
but you want your miles, right? You want that extra
Yeah.
Yeah.
benefit accruing, right? Now, selling these cards, so we're not selling, like, now that card to me is a perfect card for my audience.
Hmm.
Now, there might be a bunch of other cards, right? So there might be an Indian Oil card or Vistara card, right? I know that's not going to be the right resonance with my audience. Uh, and what we're also doing is we're saying, hey, not only am I giving you this card with all of these benefits, I'm going to give you, let's say, a 800 rupee cashback. So you're now not even spending any money to get a
And
cashback
getting.
and getting a card that's extremely valuable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Interesting.
I mean, at this point, you can basically, now that you have this not just captive audience, but also this entire platform play and the cloud that you have, you can effectively sell anyone anything,
Correct.
to that, for that matter,
Uh,
right? Obviously,
sorry.
in this example, you're choosing something which is super aligned with your audience, obviously.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
which
And,
is
and it
great.
also plays into data really well, right? So, for
Right.
example, I know phone type, I know what you're buying, I know your spending capacity. So while I don't have your Sybil per se, I know a lot about you, right? If you're buying diapers, you're probably not 18 years old, hopefully. Uh, if you're, so there's a lot that I can determine, or at least,
Yeah.
guesstimate at a 80% confidence level, right? And then that becomes my base of people. Uh,
Interesting. Ron, you mentioned bank offers like a few minutes ago while you were mentioning this. So I just want to so again, you have the credit cards where you send people for credit cards to sign up for credit cards and what have you. But are when you were talking about bank offers, you're saying like that buy this phone and you can get a bank offer in addition to the cashback kind of this. Do you
correct.
tie up with the banks for those bank offers, or are those on platform bank offers generally that you're
These are on
discussing, or
platform on platform bank offers.
okay? Well, is there an
Right. So
opportunity for you to tie up with banks? Like, hey, if you do this and then you do a bank offer via, you go and pay via the credit card, HDFC credit card through the CashKaro, we can do something. I'm sorry, I don't know if that's possible or not, but it just seemed like something that.
I'll tell you where this plays out. So right now we are, let's say, getting people to take an Access card or an SBI
Hmm,
card, right? The next objective for the bank is, can I get utilization, right?
yeah,
Because it's not about somebody taking the card, it's about maximizing utilization. And I think the next level of conversation that we're starting to have with banks, or will start having, would be around, can we maximize utilization, right? So I know
right,
that, let's say, Amit took a card of Axis Bank through CashKaro.
hmm,
Can I now talk to Amit in sync with the bank offers and say, hey, you know
right,
what, Amit, look, you have this card and I'm going to give you something special, right?
right,
And can we then, see, right now, most bank offers are homogeneous and site wide, right? So
hmm,
when you go to Amazon, it says, look, pay through your HDFC card and get 5% cashback. It's there for
right,
everybody. Is there more intelligence that we can drive by saying, look, here is somebody who will be okay to do it at 2%, but here's somebody who probably needs 10% or 15% in order to get that first transaction going.
hmm.
Uh, and therefore kind of build a lot of intelligence over time.
It's a really powerful area to work in, man. I think that that's yeah. It seems like really crazy.
Yeah.
And not just again, there's a few dimensions to this. I had a few questions on, again, the product itself, right? The platform that you guys have built. uh, this whole space, while you've talked about, you compete, or rather a merchant thinks about you as a traffic buying channel, just like they think about Google or Facebook as a traffic buying channel. But given that you've made a platform for the consumer, right? Now you've started to also become like a price discovery. Like you guys do price comparison.
Correct.
Uh, you do so many other things as well, right? For the consumer now as
Yep.
a utility. And how does, I mean, isn't that contradictory to who you are serving in a way, or is that all par for the course?
Actually, you know what are the way we've actually always thought about serving the customer, right? So in that sense, we've kind of taken a page out of Amazon's book.
Mhm.
And for a customer, we want to be their single one-stop saving destination. So if you want to buy a phone, we will help you compare that. So you don't have to open 5 tabs and figure out is Amazon better than Flipkart, etc. We'll price compare for you, and we'll give you a cashback on top. And if there's a coupon code available in the market, we'll tell you about that also. Right. So in
Wow.
one platform, we want to solve that entire experience.
Yeah.
And everything that we are doing is about making that customer loyal and sticky to us, because that customer is what everybody is after, right? So Amazon is
Yeah.
trying to sell to that customer. If I own that customer, or if that customer is loyal to me, then in some sense I have served the objective that I'm trying to serve with the e-commerce guys.
Yeah.
So it is
Yeah.
completely a customer first approach at CashKaro.
And I have a secondary question to the kind of customer. I know, Amit, I think you mentioned it earlier, right? Like people who are on CashKaro not necessarily are deal hunters,
Yeah,
or rather, they're not like looking, they're not, it's not that they can't afford buying the product that they're buying. They're just in a mindset of buying smart.
yeah,
And that seems like it's an evolution of what we typically, or at least I typically thought of these sort of all of these websites, right? People who do coupons, people who do or people who search for the best deal on the internet before buying something. uh, at the same time, now we have, just to take a comparison of a platform like Cred, right, which is also sort of saying, the platform play there is similar, saying that, hey,
yeah,
they want to own the audience, and then they're going to retailers and saying, hey, I have this very high net worth sort of audience, right?
yep,
uh, and they're also doing deals and obviously
yeah.
some amount of discounting and whatnot, different models, of course. So what kind of overlap do you think you guys have in terms of the consumer? Or I know there are different products altogether,
Sure, sure,
right, the
sure.
approach, but consumer segmentation, what do you think it
Correct.
is?
So, I think when it comes to the kind of audience that Cred has, people who collect miles or people who are on CashKaro, it's a type of person, right? It's a type of uh, thinker, right? So, there are folks who'll walk into a Gucci shop and say, look, am I getting a discount, right? And they're pretty blasé
Yeah,
about it, right? And then
I'm
there'll be
sure.
some, who are who'll kind of be like, oh, I'm at Gucci, I clearly can't be asking for a discount, right? There's some people who'll not bother collecting miles, right? Because it's like, look, I have to get a number, I have to get a card, I have to put that number every time. uh, and the same guy who's kind of flying business will say, look, miles though, like making sure that they're getting the miles, right?
Yeah.
If you think about a platform like Cred, you have high spenders, right? So they're attracting people with a sizable credit card spend. And if you think about the way the platform stands today, people are going and paying their card bill through Cred to get a very nice gamified cashback, right? Of 10 rupees, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, right? Now, that customer is exactly the customer who should be at CashKaro, because when you spend 1 lakh rupees on your card, you could have actually gotten 10% cashback,
Right.
right? So you
Wow.
could have gotten, something like 5,000 to 10,000 rupees, which you then pay through Cred, and you get, a much smaller amount of cash back. But that's the value, right? That we're saying that
Yeah.
now,
No, nothing is
obviously,
stopping you from doing both, right? I mean, like buy
No,
through CashKaro,
exactly.
pay through
absolutely,
Cred.
you
You do
should you
both.
should buy through CashKaro, pay through Cred. You should use the right credit card, maximize
Yeah.
your cash back. I think it's the last, like what is happening in India in terms of offers and consumerism. it's never been a better time to be a consumer. Things that would actually cost money are uh, not costing as much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Heavy competition
heavy
between brands
competition.
and then between platforms. I mean,
Correct.
and then all the layers in between. Everyone's sort
Correct.
of trying to get to the same, the prime consumer you're talking
Correct.
about.
Correct. Correct.
Uh,
Correct. Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
And
I
that
guess the
was what
other,
that was. Yeah.
yeah, I was saying that
Go
the
ahead.
advantage that Cashflow also has is that we're also able to serve to uh, everybody else, right? So there is obviously a whole world of deal seekers,
Correct.
right? And that world is
Correct.
large. And we also cater to that, right? So while uh, that audience is there, there is equally a large audience of, the folks that collect miles or on cred or, just value seeking
Yeah.
people, right?
Actually, I was going to ask that. That's actually the larger growth story. I mean, everyone in India talks about the tier two, tier three audience, which everyone is trying to get to, right?
Yeah.
We are the privileged few who are maybe on cred, but I mean, that's a whole different ball game versus
Yeah.
the actual people who are shopping. Like even Amazon, I'm sure cares about obviously the larger segment,
Massively,
and
massively,
No.
right,
massively.
and that's who you also cater to is what. So how do
Absolutely.
you tweak your product to cater to both is was actually my interesting question. Like, do you think about that, like how
Mm.
the things you have to do for hipsters versus the things you have to do for en masse?
Um, we haven't seen a very big difference in how, let's say, tier one versus tier two behaves. Um, I think, the way information is floating, right? Accessibility to, let's say, OTT, digital, has kind of broken the gaps that used to exist between, let's say, tier one, tier two, right? Or the kind of
Hmm.
fashion people would want to consume, right? It's completely changed, right? The number of influencers that are out there who are kind of telling you what to wear, how to dress. Um, so we're not really seeing a massive difference. I think the desires are very similar. I
Interesting.
think Agio,
Hmm.
let's say a brand like Superdry would sell, uh, as much in tier one as tier two, right? And I think
Wow.
the desirability is there, right? And increasingly enough, affordability is also there across the board. So,
Wow.
so when I
That's a good
think
insight.
so when we look at a product, we're not sort of segregating at that level, but what we're realizing is that people have a different level of understanding of the product, right? And I think everything that we're changing or tweaking at a product level is more about how easily can somebody understand what this product is. I think it takes people a little bit of time to figure out, like, are you telling me that I have to just click out from here to here and you're going to give me money? And that's it. And there's no catch, and you're not charging me anything, and you're not taking my bank details, and like, how, why, right? And I think a lot of our battle right now is educating that, and also kind of realizing or creating a differentiation versus all the cashback in the world, right? So there is Paytm does cashback, Big Bazaar does
Yeah.
cashback, like everybody does cashback, right? And we're saying, look, in the 100 cashbacks, here is something that looks a little different, and let me educate you about it, right? So I think education is probably one of our uh, primary objectives at everything we're doing on the product right now.
Wow, this is super interesting. I mean, like you're saying all this, like another thing is coming into my head, and I'm just like, is there, is there a like, is there a, is there a case for CashKaro to be used by companies as part of like their procurement and purchasing? I think there is, right? Why not?
There is and a lot of small to mid-sized companies do that.
They probably do.
uh,
Yeah.
Hmm.
so we have
That's the first
Amazon Business.
example. Your Luis was doing that.
It was we have all the travel
Yeah.
guys. We have Amazon Business on board. We have Dell, and so there's absolutely a very large use case for SMEs to do it. I think the larger corporates are much more organized, right? It's there's a
Hmm.
procurement department, and a purchase department and things go
Right.
through an ERP system. So probably not for the Deloitte's and KPMG's of the world, but for a company like CashKaro, absolutely. For
Hmm.
anything which is one member to sort of 50 member, 100
Right.
member shop, absolutely big use case there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, whatever money saved is money saved, or
Yeah. No.
rather money
Exactly.
earned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
yeah, absolutely.
For every
every
startup, right? I mean, like when you were running the startup, when I was running it by myself, right?
yeah,
I mean, like I was buying everything myself anyway. Might as well have used this, right? I mean, like because you're buying all your computers from Amazon, you're buying like everything from
yeah.
like these things, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like wow, okay, could have, yeah, okay, would give you a little bit
It's
of an additional runway.
it's really important that education you mentioned, Rohan. I think
Yeah,
that's super important because when we talk about it and when you execute on it, you realize, oh my God, how much money could I have made, much
yeah,
saved
Yeah,
in the over the past 9 years that you guys have been here.
that's what
So
I'm
yeah,
thinking right now, right? Yeah.
yeah. I'll give you a simple example, right? When we think about a company, right? A typical company might buy, let's say, 10 laptops a year,
Mhm.
give or take. Uh,
yeah,
Now, on average, a laptop, let's say, is 30,000 if you're buying an entry level. Now, we're talking about a 4% cashback.
Yeah,
That's 1,200 rupees every laptop. Uh, you know,
yeah,
it's
adds up.
it's kind of 10, 11K for nothing, right?
Yeah, adds
yeah,
up,
No
man.
effort.
nothing.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Seriously. Well, I mean, you already shared about a bunch of things you guys are doing, and obviously you've evolved so much over these years. As a closing note, what is it beyond the education piece? Is there anything else that you guys are sort of looking forward to? Like, obviously, the market is massive. The education
yeah,
needs to happen clearly. I hope everyone listening on this show definitely realizes how much more they could have saved or earned, and I'm sure they'll try CashKaro out after this.
yeah.
But what do you want to do a shout out to people? What should they do? What should they look forward to from you guys? Are you guys hiring as a team? Anything else? And obviously, if you're also some notes about where you are reachable, maybe on LinkedIn or Twitter, you can share your
Yeah.
Twitter handle, whatever.
Yeah. So we're hiring in a big way. We're hiring across every team, every role. In the lockdown, we have actually hired close to 100 people. And what's
Wow.
amazing is that
Wow.
I've not met any of these 100 people. And some of them are very senior folk in the company, uh, and so we're hiring. We're hiring for product, UX, technology, and I'm very reachable on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the best way to get to me. Rohan at cashkaro.com is the other easy way to get to me. And I think you know over the next sort of 12 months, right? Our goal is uh, just keep doing what we're doing. And two areas of diversification are really cards and edtech. Uh,
Hmm.
Same way that we have cards. Education is a
Oh,
massive,
you said
massive
cards or you said cars? Cards.
cards, credit
Cards,
cards.
Cards.
cards. Okay, all right.
Uh,
Yeah, I was like cars.
and
Wow. Okay, that's a big one.
The
yeah,
cashback on that
Yes.
will be awesome.
would be awesome.
We'll get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
internally, we've actually thought about is real estate and cars an opportunity, and we've sort of parked it for now because we
Oh,
think there are certain like we just want to do things that are much more digital in nature. It's easier
right.
for us to
Yeah.
execute. But edtech is massive. It's probably the okay, I don't know how many billion-dollar opportunity it is in India, and for us to
Yeah.
take even a smallest of slice of that uh,
Hmm.
is bigger than what, let's say, Amazon and Flipkart presented an opportunity.
Oh
Hmm.
wow, really? And
Yeah.
and you're saying it's a channel and it's a kind of product which people might actually buy through a discovery platform like yourself.
So,
Is
so,
that really
so
the
for
case?
example, it's not just discovery. It's about, see, for example, take Upgrad, right? So today, we're tying up with Upgrad, and they are trying to get people to consume the product, right? Take courses like their digital courses through Mica and etc. etc.
Yeah.
Can we be the marketing platform, right? So they have
Hmm.
sales agents. Can Cashkaro be that marketing engine that goes and says, look, we have filtered 1 lakh potential
Very
people that
interesting.
are high intent people, and can we get them to start, doing something through us? So we become the sales engine for them.
Hmm.
Uh, and
Yeah. No,
look,
it makes
you can
sense.
get a 20% discount, which is large.
Massive.
Significant. Yeah, those courses are not cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's massive. I mean, it makes sense when you again think about who your consumer profile is and again what they're likely to buy, right? If I'm an fair affluent buyer of XYZ, I'll probably, and depending on my age bracket, I'll probably look at even upskilling and
Yeah.
e-learning. So yes,
Correct. Correct.
it absolutely makes sense. I mean, amazing. I really, I mean, I think people are going to bounce on the opportunity to sort of, take advantage of this, and of course, everything else that you guys are building and going to share with everyone, and obviously to both you and Swati who built this sort of brand. I'm guessing you're in the winner take all position already. So
Well,
it's
we're in
only
the
up
lead,
better
but
from here.
I wouldn't be complacent. I think there is a long way to go, but we're happy where we are. So long way to go.
Awesome.
Awesome. Also, just a quick reminder, everybody, please do follow us or subscribe wherever you're listening, or drop a review, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, or wherever. Do a rating, do a review, do whatever you can. All that stuff helps with people finding out more about the show. Also, tell somebody about it. If you have a friend who enjoys this kind of show, who would enjoy this kind of thing, please let them know that they should also be listening.
Yeah. And of course, Rohan, you've shared you're reachable on LinkedIn. We will obviously punch in your details when we roll this show out. But thank you so much for this very, very enlightening chat. I'm itching to go buy something now. So somehow it's already had subliminal effects of, oh my god, the next thing I buy, I better save some money. So yes,
Awesome, awesome,
thank
awesome.
thank
Well,
you so
happy
much for
saving,
this. It was
and thank you so much.
yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
Thank you.
IVM.